Hello there, welcome to Political Checkmate, and today I am celebrating the first year anniversary of doing this YouTube channel. I have made a lot of progress since doing this channel. I have reached 150 subscribers and over 14,000 views in this channel's history, with over 40 videos. I would like to thank my fans and friends of the channel, Theron Deleison, for helping me reach these accomplishments. To celebrate the first year anniversary of the channel, I will defend one of my favorite economists who has influenced me the most when learning economics, Milton Friedman. The way I will defend Milton Friedman is to respond to a video from Democracy at Work called Ask Professor Wolf, Capitalism and Morality, where the video tries to criticize Milton Friedman, but the majority of the video is a straw man. Now that I got that out of the way, let us begin the video.
This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work, and I'm responding to another Ask Prof. Wolf question sent in by a member of our Patreon community. And in this case, the question comes from Terry Stern. Terry asks a question about Milton Friedman, the now deceased but quite famous professor of economics at the University of Chicago for many years, founder of what came to be called the Chicago School of Extremely Conservative Economics. I'm being as polite as I know how to be. And Terry's question refers to Milton Friedman's famous comment that corporations not only have no morality, but shouldn't be expected to have any morality, that morality resides in the individuals who run a corporation, but not in the corporation itself. If you have a problem with what corporations do, then you presumably have a problem with people who run the corporation having inappropriate, inadequate, or downright perverse morals. I don't want to take this all that seriously because I know what Milton Friedman's work was about. He wanted a private capitalist system. He wanted the government to play the minimum possible role and everything else be left to private capitalist enterprises. And he wanted to protect private capitalist enterprises, not only from the government, but from any popular expectations that they should behave in this way or that way. Their job, he said, was to make money, to be profitable. Because in capitalism, Milton Friedman believed, if every person pursues his or her own profit, the end result will be the best possible world for all of us. Now, to my untutored ears, this sounds like a justification for rampant selfishness. It is a wonderful thing to be able to believe that if I ignore the impact of my actions on everybody else, that if I ignore whatever the community I live in needs, but pursue my own advantage, my own personal gain, it will all work out for the best. Sure, it will.
Okay, I want to put some context in this argument from Milton Friedman. I think Wolf was trying to reference this New York Times article that Friedman wrote called A Friedman Doctrine. The social responsibility of businesses is to increase its profits, where Friedman tried to argue that corporations have no social responsibility. Instead, it's the people. The reason why Milton Friedman believed in this reasoning is because if a business tried to pursue an issue, it would simply be a tax on the public through things like shareholder profits, consumer expense, or employee outcomes. Another thing Friedman noted is that business would not always know what is the best way to help solve an issue. That's why Friedman argued that people themselves should donate to charity organizations to help fix the actual issue. Of course, Friedman does believe that business could make a profit in helping the public, and I quote, "To illustrate it, it may well be in the long-run interest of a corporation that is a major employer in a small community to devote resources to provide amenities to that community, or to improve its government. That way, it make it easier to track desirable employees. It may reduce the wage bill or lessen losses from pillage and sabotage or have other worthwhile effects. Or it may be that given the laws about the deductibility of corporate charitable contributions, the stockholders can contribute more to charities they favor by having a corporation make the gift than by doing it themselves, since they can in that way contribute an amount that would otherwise have been paid as corporate taxes. Anyway, now with Richard Wolff's actual argument with selfishness. First off, selfishness is just simply following one's own self-interest. And I want to use this quote from the amazing book In Defense of Capitalism, Debunking the Myths by Rainer Seidelman. From Chapter 7, Capitalism Promotes Selfishness and Greed, to point out that greed by entrepreneurs is not inherently bad, but could actually be a good thing. The quote being, of course, some entrepreneurs are greedy, but it would be absurd to regard the pursuit of profits in general as the expression of greed. Great, writes the economist Thomas Sowell, may well explain an individual's desire for more money, but income is determined by what other people pay, whether those are people are employers or consumers. Except for criminal, most people in a market economy receive income as a result of voluntary transactions. How much income someone receives voluntarily depends on other people's willingness to part with their money in exchange for what the recipient offers, whether that is labor or a service, of course. Milton Friedman argues that business should engage in open and free competition without deception or fraud, while businesses that try to be unethical are not actually following their self-interest. Instead, they're being self-destructive because they could lose money and be out of business or be in jail.
But let me respond to the seriousness of Terry's question, because the question deserves a serious answer. Let's begin with individuals and their morals or their ethics. Where do the morals and ethics come from? To listen to Milton Friedman, you might imagine that they are innate, that literally you are born a good person or not. You're born with original virtue or possibly original sin. You are not, in any case, shaped by the institutions into which your life pushes you. What institutions do I mean? Well, let me give you a short list. You are born into, as an infant, a family. You are inserted, usually as an infant, into some church or synagogue or mosque. You are inserted into, sooner or later, a school, a whole series of schools. And finally, you are inserted, when you're an adult, into a workplace, a job. Now, you can either believe that none of those institutions shapes your morals, or you can believe, as I do, that all of those institutions play important roles in shaping your moral values, your sense of yourself, your relationships with other people. I happen to believe that your job and the organization of your job has an enormous impact on your values, your beliefs, your politics, you as a human being. So I disagree with Milton Friedman. How you set up a corporation will, in fact, shape all the people in it, at least as much as the other way around. Do you have in you all kinds of morals and values that shape the corporation? Yes, but it goes both ways. You shape the corporation and you are shaped by the corporation. You shape the family you live in and it shapes you. The church you attend and it shapes you. You get the picture. Milton Friedman didn't want to see, didn't want to admit, could not theorize the back and forth. He wanted it one way, from the individual to the institution, never the other way around. That's typical of conservatives. But I'm not a conservative, as you've probably noticed.
Again, that is not what Milton Friedman was arguing for. Instead, that corporations should not pursue real-world issues. Instead, it should pursue its own pursuit, which is to make money. Of course, it does not mean it could not help society. It's just that jobs would be better pursued by things like charity organizations due to the fact they would probably have better knowledge of the issue and simply less taxing to the public. Now let's see what Richard Wolff believes that corporations shape morality itself.
So let me finish by telling you some of the ways that a corporation's morality affects the individual. In a typical capitalist corporation, a tiny group of people sitting at the top, the owner of the company, the board of directors, the major shareholders. These are people who number, if you put them all together, 20, 25, maybe 30 at the outside. Then the corporation has all these employees. They can number in the tens, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands when you get to a big American corporation these days. All the key decisions of the enterprise, what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and what to do with the profits that all have helped to create. The decisions about all of that are made by the tiny group at the top. The vast majority of employees are excluded from the decisions of what that corporation does. They're excluded from the decisions that may mean the company leaves and relocates to China. They are excluded from decisions that the company's leaders make that use a technology that can be bad for your ears or your air or your water. They can make decisions to use the profits to make the folks at the top very rich and to make your salary very poor. Crucial aspects of your life are shaped in that company where you work and by how that company is organized. The typical capitalist corporation, for example, is deeply and systematically anti-democratic. It does not allow the mass of people affected by the decisions of how to run that corporation, it denies them the participation in making those decisions.
I, for one, am fine with worker co-ops and support their existence, but I don't think they are a good business model. The reason why is because in a democracy, most people honestly don't have knowledge on issues or running businesses, and they also suffer from time preference differences than the CEO and board directors, where they have more knowledge and skills running a business. In fact, a study from the National Bureau of Economic Research looked at firms that had labor control over productions and found, relative to other firms, labor-controlled publicly traded firms deviate more from value maximization, invest less in long-term assets, take fewer risks, and grow more slowly, create fewer net new jobs, and exhibit lower labor and total factor productivity. If you want more criticisms of democracy, I would recommend these books: The Myth of the Rational Voter by Brian Kaplan and Against Democracy by Jason Brennan. I also want to point out that businesses' decision making is based on consumer demands. So really, workers and consumers do actually have an impact on how the economy works, such as workers choosing which firms to work for, or trying to create businesses, or joining a worker co-op, or creating a union, etc. While consumers can vote with their dollars and support a business they agree with, or start their own business under a true free markets. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and please donate to my Patreon so I can make more videos and have your video requests checkmated. And thanks for watching, and have a nice day.